We are joined by the dream team. We have former football god, Five Live presenter Robbie Savage, who's been campaigning about the importance of grassroots sport throughout the pandemic. And we also have ukactive chair and 11-time Paralympian champion Tanni Grey-Thompson. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And Tanni, let's start with you, because you are involved in those conversations. I believe you've been speaking to the government. What are they saying then about grassroots sport? What is their thinking on the return?
Well, the government's on record saying that the leisure sector will be a priority when relaxations happen. So that's what we're hoping for from the roadmap. Just because the impact that the sector has on mental health and well-being and physical activity, it's, and also, which is not often linked to, maybe in as much as we like in our sector, in terms of the health savings, 66% of cancer prehab and rehab services are provided in leisure centres. So it's so much more than, just going to your local provision. It's all the rehab, everything else that comes with that is incredibly important.
That is huge, isn't it? I had no idea. That's a massive figure. And you, of course, you're the UK Active chair. You've been in regular talks with the government, and you represent gyms, leisure centres, both across the public and the private sector. I mean, I think one thing that this whole last year has done has made us realise that, the connection between physical well-being and mental well-being. And I'm sure the government understand that too. But what is their thinking on the timescale for bringing people back into that fold?
That's still, important part that we'll be waiting for from the announcement. But I mean, I think if you look at the safety aspects during sort of the lockdowns in terms of, the rate of COVID. So the 1.7 cases per 100,000, and that's across 75 million visits. So the leisure sector is a really safe place to be. There's lots of COVID secure protocols. What we kind of need is those specific dates in the opening and what people will be allowed to do, because I think it's about managing expectation. And each of the three, lockdowns have had a massive impact on individuals. And, basically there's no trade-off between health and the economy. We've got to be thinking about the long term, about how we can get people to ensure them being fit and healthy again, because the winter's not a great time to be going out and exercising outside, for an awful lot of people, and people from different socioeconomic groups. There's a massive health inequality anyway, and the lockdowns have just potentially added to that.
Robbie, you've been campaigning about the importance of grassroots sport throughout the pandemic. I mean, Tanni's talked there about the winter, and I've got a couple of young boys, and it just feels that this was the time more than any, just to keep morale up, that we wanted to get them into the park, we wanted to get them kicking a ball. Why is it so important to get this moving again?
Well, I think Tanni's spoke exceptionally well there, about the physical and mental well-being. We know that physical activity, can improve concentration in youngsters. It can boost immunity. There's so much it can do. And obviously, as Tanni's spoke so well about the mental aspects of young people. So, I'm on a WhatsApp group with the government. And I really believe, Patrick, that they do understand how important children's and grassroots sport is. And I think Oliver Dowden's got on record saying that, grassroots sports will be first out of lockdown. And it's imperative, because my argument would be that, if youngsters are back in school on March 8th, hopefully they will be, they'll be mixing in bubbles. For instance, my son will go to school and he'll cross, in the last lockdown we were in tier 3 and his school was in a tier 4 area. And he would get to school on a bus mixing, and then he'd be in his classroom bubble. But then, at dinner time and break time and after school, there'd be hundreds of kids congregating, mixing bubbles. So, if they're allowed to do that, and they should, hopefully they'll be back in school. But at the weekend, they need to look forward to being with their mates, building camaraderie, doing physical exercise. And 22 players in a COVID-secured environment, which loads of grassroots clubs have done, that should be facilitated for them, because they've missed out so much.
One of the things that your foundation does, Robbie, it's about accessibility. It's about trying to make sport available to as many people as possible. So many people in this pandemic. They're furloughed, they've lost a job, the money isn't there. When you and I were kicking a ball growing up, you just went over the road to the pitch and it didn't cost anything. I mean, are there going to be kids, are there going to be families that things will open up, but they're not going to be able to afford to send their kids to these sports clubs?
Yeah, and that's why, Patrick, I've launched the Savage Foundation, because, you know, I think family circumstances will have changed dramatically during these times. So, you know, with a facility Macclesfield FC have provided for me and a 4G, I believe that, you know, we should offer free grassroots football regardless, you know, of ability or background, because, you know, people have lost their jobs. You know, there's lots of things that have happened during these times, so that's why I wanted to, you know, provide free grassroots football. And, you know, in families, youngsters will do different sports. I think it's very important that all children access different sports, you know, whether it's golf, cricket, swimming, football. And, you know, even if one of those sports have suffered for that family and they can't afford it, that's why I want to provide them with free football, which I believe is an amazing thing. And already, Patrick, we've had over 200 applicants, which is quite incredible.
Tanni, I just wanted to bring you back in for a final word. I mean, it's that figure that you were saying, cancer prehab and also after a cancer treatment, 63% of people use kind of leisure facilities for that. Do you think the government has underestimated the impact that stopping all kinds of sport in the UK has had on people's health, people with ongoing health conditions, and also just for general fitness and well-being? Lots of people saying, well, you know, why close golf courses? You know, that you're not going to be anywhere near anybody. The golf clubs are, you know, the club houses are shut, so there's no mingling. Why shut tennis courts? It seems this blanket approach has shut everybody out of any kind of organised sport. Was that wise?
I think there have been really robust discussions with government, and I think certainly at the beginning of the pandemic, the size and scale of the sector, you know, how many members and people use gym and leisure facilities probably wasn't as well known as it is now. So I think it's been a really good opportunity for sport and physical activity to come together and actually show everybody what it does. But, you know, we're in just unprecedented times. Trying to make the right decisions about this is really difficult. So, you know, I've got a lot of sympathy with the government in terms of what they're trying to do. But actually now's the point that we need to be looking at, you know, the impact. You know, from what Robbie's saying, children missed at least 23 weeks of school last year. We know in the summer holidays they can lose 70% of their fitness. What does 23 weeks do to them? So, you know, for young people, for everyone, for old people, absolutely the whole nation. I mean, we're in the middle of a, you know, national pandemic or world pandemic. And actually physical activity has got to be part of the solution, the long-term solution to getting people healthy and well again.